The story of how we discovered DNA, the secret of life, is one of the greatest tales in science. But here's the thing. The version we all learned, it's wrong. It's missing its most important character, a forgotten hero whose work was literally the key that unlocked everything. In this explainer, we're going to find her.
So let me ask you a question. Who discovered the double helix? Go on, think about it. I bet two names just popped into your head, right? But what if I told you the most crucial person, the one who made it all possible, isn't one of them?
For decades, the official story has been all about James Watson and Francis Crick. I mean, they're the names in all the textbooks. But the person who provided the single most important piece of evidence, her name was Rosalind Franklin. And her story, wow, it's not just about some scientific breakthrough, it's about a stolen legacy and, frankly, a fight for recognition that's still going on today. Okay, Section 1, Forging a Master Scientist. So to really get how she made this incredible breakthrough with DNA, you have to understand something really important. Before she ever looked at the code of life, she was a master of something a lot more, well, common. Coal. Look, Franklin was, to put it simply, a prodigy. I mean, just look at this stuff. Solving complex math problems for fun when she was 6 years old? Who does that? She went to one of the only girls' schools around that actually taught physics and chemistry. And get this, she earned a scholarship to Cambridge, but her dad insisted on paying for her tuition so that the scholarship money could go to a refugee student who needed it more. Just an incredible mind, brilliant from the very beginning.
And that incredible mind? It was put to the test almost right away, because when World War II broke out, her very specific, very unique research suddenly became a matter of national importance.
So for her PhD, she was studying the microstructure of coal. Now, this wasn't some abstract science project. This was vital to the war effort. Think about it. By looking at these tiny, tiny pores inside coal, she could figure out which kinds were best for fuel and, this is so critical, which kinds were best for the gas masks soldiers were using. She was already an expert at seeing things that nobody else could see. And this right here perfectly explains why her work was so important. Just think about this for a second. A piece of pencil lead and a diamond. They're both made of the exact same thing, carbon atoms. The only difference? It's how those atoms are put together. The structure. Structure is everything. So after the war, she went to France and she just perfected her skills, studying how carbon atoms are arranged. She became a master of a technique that was about to change everything. All right, Section 2, the breakthrough. Photo 51. So now she's armed with this incredible, unique expertise in structure, and she takes on her next big challenge, DNA. She heads to King's College London, and she's about to find out that a single solitary photograph, well, it held the key to the whole thing. Okay, so this technique she'd mastered in France, it's called X-ray crystallography. Let me break it down. Basically, you shoot a beam of X-rays at a crystal. As those X-rays hit the atoms inside, they scatter in all these different directions, and that creates a pattern on a photographic film. Now, if you know how to read that pattern, you can literally map out the atomic structure of whatever you're looking at. It is incredibly difficult stuff, and Franklin, she was one of the absolute best in the world at it. But the minute she got to King's, she ran into trouble. There was this colleague, Maurice Wilkins, who basically saw her as an assistant, not as a peer scientist. And yeah, they clashed. Big time. But Franklin, she just pushed forward. She even made this crucial innovation on her own. She figured out how to precisely control the humidity inside her X-ray camera. And because of that, she started producing images of DNA that were clearer than anything anyone had ever seen before. And then, in May of 1952, after so many hours of just painstaking, meticulous work, she got it. Photo 51. I know, it might just look like a blurry X to us, but to someone with her training, this single image was like finding the Rosetta Stone for the secret of life itself. Now, James Watson later tried to claim that Franklin didn't even understand her own photograph. That is just plain false. Her own notes, her own calculations show she figured out everything from it. The X shape, that confirmed DNA was a helix. The pattern proved the phosphate groups were on the outside, like a backbone. She even worked out the exact dimensions. She didn't just snap a picture, she knew exactly what it meant. She had all the crucial pieces of the puzzle. Which brings us to Section 3, a secret shared, credit stolen. See, Franklin was a careful, meticulous scientist. She wanted to gather just a little more data before she published her findings. But she would never get that chance, because her competitors were about to get a secret, unauthorized look at all of her unpublished work.
What happened next unfolded with, honestly, brutal speed. Look at this timeline. January 30th, 1953, Wilkins shows photo 51 to James Watson, without her permission, without her even knowing. Then, just a few weeks later, another colleague gives Frances Crick access to her full, unpublished report. I mean, with her photo and her data, it was like they were handed the answer key to the test. By March, Watson and Crick had built their famous model, and in that very same month, Franklin, completely unaware of any of this, decided to transfer out of King's College.
And if you want to know about the kind of attitude she was up against, just look at this. It's from Watson's own book, The Double Helix, which he published in 1968. He wrote, and I'm quoting here, "Rosie had to be put in her place." First of all, he called her Rosie, a nickname she hated and never used. And then that line, "put in her place." His whole book basically painted her as this difficult woman who couldn't even interpret her own data. It created this totally false story that stuck around for decades.
So when the big discovery was finally published in the journal Nature, Watson and Crick's paper came first. Franklin's paper was published in the same issue, but it was positioned as just supporting data for their big idea. And then in 1962, the Nobel Prize was awarded to Watson, Crick, and Wilkins. Rosalind Franklin's name? Not even mentioned.
Okay, Section 4, Rewriting Franklin's Legacy. For a really long time, that's pretty much where her story ended. But here's the good news. History isn't set in stone. And today, her name and her incredible work are finally being reclaimed. You know, even after leaving King's, Franklin just kept doing groundbreaking science. She did pioneering work on the structure of viruses like polio, research that was so fundamental it actually led to a Nobel Prize for her colleague years later. But so tragically, she died of ovarian cancer in 1958. She was only 37 years old. It was likely caused by all the radiation exposure from her work. And because the Nobel Prize isn't awarded after someone has died, she was technically ineligible for the DNA Prize in 1962, a rule that, let's be honest, was pretty convenient for the Nobel Committee.
But today, you can really see the tide turning. We have buildings and universities named after her. The European Space Agency's Mars rover, which is literally designed to search for signs of life on another planet, is named the Rosalind Franklin. And maybe best of all, in 2023, the very same journal that pushed her to the sidelines, Nature, published an article finally calling her what she always was, an equal contributor.
So, you might be thinking, why does this story from 70 years ago still matter so much? Well, because the kinds of challenges she faced, they haven't just disappeared. Look at this number. Today, women hold only 28% of senior tenured science faculty positions in the U.S. It's a really stark reminder that the fight for recognition, for an equal footing, is nowhere near over. Ultimately, Rosalind Franklin's story is such a powerful lesson, right? It shows us that history is written by the people who get the credit. Her legacy forces us to ask a much bigger question, one that's not just about the past, but about right now. Who are we forgetting to credit today? Who are the unsung heroes in our labs, in our offices, in our own communities? And what are we going to do to make sure their stories get told?